Tear into your soul. Hello, Eric again. Ah, I really need to stop taking a desperate sip of coffee immediately after hitting record. Very unprofessional. So, episode one, I figured I'm going to just cover some interests, get those out of the way so that you have a frame of reference for shit I'm talking about later. So this one I'm going to cover, brace yourself, YouTube video games, because it's a thing that I like. Okay. Let's see here. I was born in 1980, or as many of you on YouTube probably know it is, the time when my mom was out picking a dad times place. I don't know. Um, I'm old. Probably getting close to that point where I'm too old for the internet. So I would say that I shouldn't say the 1980s, but I have gray hair. Look at this. I have amazing tufts of it. Like, boom. I got the Mr. Fantastics and the Rogue. Got that one from Magneto. It's Neato. Magneto. Anyway, God, I'm getting sidetracked. So born in 1980s. My dad, perpetual 80s dad, thick, full beard, embarrassingly short basketball shorts, that sort of thing. Got into video games probably around 1982, 1983. He got an Atari, I believe. God, my frame of reference is skewed, and I don't really care to look it up because I have no reason to convince you that this is fact or fiction. But he had an Atari 5200, I want to say, and a ColecoVision, which were game systems before the Nintendo. And I even have like pictures of me sitting in a diaper in front of the TV next to him while he sat cross-legged on the floor and, played video games. Like, I always liked it. And when I got a little older, he would let me operate the controls, and, from memory, I remember, having this giant controller in my hand that, like, if you ever wanted to see madness, look at the Atari, like, look up a picture of the Atari 5200 joystick. It was a controller that had a numeric keypad, like a phone, and a joystick, and 4 buttons, in addition to the other numeric ones, and you would, what was it? It's one of those, either the Atari or the Coleco, I don't really care. But you would slide a thing in front of it that covered the buttons and put different names on top of them so you know what the hell you were doing. But some games actually required 2 joysticks, and you would have a thing that would snap 2 buttons together, essentially giving you 32 buttons and 2 joysticks. So to me, it was like having tank controls in my lap. And I remember kicking ass, but at my age, I was probably dying a lot and just really fascinated that things on screen were moving because I was manipulating it. But eventually, my dad popped in this game called Pac-Man, which it was an obscure indie title at the time, never went anywhere. And I wasn't good at it. I mean, I probably thought I was, but honestly, like, I probably got to like stage 4 at the most. But he kind of raised me on that one. Like, I even ended up, it's not finished. God help me. Eventually, I will get that finished. But it is an awful looking tattoo at the moment. But it's one of those things. Like, he really got me into gaming, and like as time went on, I would go to this flea market near here, and I would, take my hard-earned allowance and pick out Atari games. Especially when, like, the Nintendo came out and the Commodore 64, because everyone was just dumping their Atari games, and you could go to the flea market and get them for, like, $3, $4, $5. So I would come home with games like Stampede, Kool-Aid Man, Fork Dig Guy. There's so many bad games. Like, if you look at the Atari library, you would think the Atari library was the last game library to ever exist in our timeline. because the game titles look like all the other ones were taken. Like it was just fucking verbs, like Spelunker. Oh no, Spelunker was Nintendo. Fuck, and fucking tangents, man. So anyway, time went on. I ended up playing everything. I played all the systems, and if I didn't have a system, someone around me had one. Like even when I was in Cub Scouts, we didn't go camping because Ohio is the fattest city in the or fattest state. Fattest city. God fucking damn it! It's the fattest state in the nation. And when we had a camping session, we would go to this church. They would let us use the auditorium, and we would camp in the auditorium, and everyone would bring game systems in. So we would have like Nintendos and Commodores and all these other things set up on folding tables, and you could work your way around the room and play different video games, and it was great. But like I played even the obscure shit, and this isn't me trying to be hipster. It's just I'm trying to point out that I was obsessed. Like there was a light gun thing. I don't remember what it was called, but you would pop videotapes into your VCR. You would play a video, and you had a light gun that you could shoot at the screen, and a little machine would register how many accurate hits you got. Like there was what was it? There was like a crime game, where you're fighting alongside this cop. There was one where there was like jet planes. Like it's basically just footage of jet fighters, and every time an enemy plane went by, you're like pew 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 pew. And if you really want nightmares, and I legitimately want you to look this up, because I will never forget this name, and I know it exists on YouTube because I have watched it many times. It's called The Adventures of Pops Ghostly. There's no story really, but it's just, and it's footage. It's, somebody filmed this. It's these two little kids running into a house, and then all of a sudden this terrifying puppet family shows up and tells you that, the house is haunted or something. And it's basically just a camera guy walking through an old house. And then later on, this crew went through and superimposed just fucking creepy toys and puppets over it that you had to shoot at. And at one point, and I'm not kidding you, look up this video, there is a skeletal dog that you're just following, and it's walking, presumably somebody who is very depressed was walking this puppet along, and suddenly the house disappears, and you're in a Doctor Who style portal, and then you end up hovering in space with more creepy shit. It's wonderful. Look it up. Just fuck. What tangent number was that? I should count my tangents. Maybe if somebody watching this is very tech savvy, they can tell me how to just put a little counter right here. Square aim here. There we go. I don't know if you've ever tried to do something while looking at yourself in a camera. It's actually not that easy. But yeah, I just want a little running counter of how many tangents I went off on. But yeah, so anyway, I played a lot of video games, and growing up, I ended up playing things like Virtual Boy, it was regular Nintendo. I got the Genesis. I'm trying to go in order here. I got the Genesis. I loved the Genesis. I played the shit out of Shining Force. Shining Force 1 and 2, and then I got the Sega CD, where I would play a lot of Shining Force CD, which is basically 4 role-playing games combined into one, making it the longest goddamn role-playing game ever. And I remember playing Sewer Shark, not because it was fun, but when you got to a certain point, it was all live-action footage. The mayor's secretary was in a bikini for inexplicably no reason, and I was in my early teens, so I was like, I don't need an excuse. This was before the internet, so a woman in a bikini was, it was majestic. To see one in the wild. After that, sadly I never got a Super Nintendo. I always wanted one. I loved every game on it, but I didn't get a Super Nintendo until probably in my 20s. I mean, I could have gotten one when I was about 11 or 12, but man, I did not have one in my childhood. My stepsister did. but you know how that goes. Had the Virtual Boys, had the Game Boys, had the Game Gears. When I got out, I remember moving out on my own, and one of the first things I got was my Dreamcast. That was, first system I ever bought on my own was a PlayStation 1. But when I moved out on my own, holy shit, the Dreamcast. Because honestly, I don't really have a lot of fond memories of PlayStation 1. I'm sorry, I know that there was a lot of great role-playing games, but I don't have fond memories of them. Like, when I bought my PlayStation 1, the first game I bought, kid you not, Street Fighter the movie, the game. We could play as Raul Julia versus Jean-Claude Van Damme, and you could punch Kylie Minogue, which honestly I wouldn't want to do. She seems like a lovely person and has been through a lot. So I'm not going to punch you, Cammy. But yeah, Dreamcast, Jesus. I remember people coming over playing like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with its awful jazz soundtrack. And, oh god, it was so damn good. But even today, like, luckily I happen to marry somebody that games. So, you know, it's not one of those, I don't have to be one of those guys that has a man cave, you know, anything like that, because she'll want to watch. Like, you know, we play all sorts of different things. You know, like, we both like Destiny, we both like Mirror's Edge. You know, like, we have some games that, like, maybe I'll like a game and she won't. Like, I love a lot of fighting games. She doesn't really like fighting games. She likes MMOs more than I do. You know, but that's life. And honestly, fuck, I don't want somebody that has the same interests as me entirely, because we would never get anything done. I'm just geek out about shit all day, or who the fuck knows. Like, it's good, because also, in fairness, when people have another interest, or like a different type of thing, it kind of broadens your horizon. You get to play more stuff. Probably wouldn't have played Destiny, in fairness. Fuck, I keep saying Destiny. I mean Journey. Probably wouldn't have played Journey if not for her. So, I like Journey. Fuck, I'm rambling. So yeah, all sorts of video games. I love them. Mostly nowadays, it's PS4, Wii U. I'm obsessed with Mario Maker. Like, my geek moment of the week was when I was talking to Noel Clark, who, not to name drop, played Mickey on Doctor Who, and he was sharing his stages and I was sharing mine, and he was commenting on them, and so I can proudly say that my first actual commenter / follower was Mickey, so that's neat. And then I also play the 3DS a lot. Like, it's always on me. It's in my pocket right now. Maybe I'll post my things in the comments. I don't know. I don't care. But yeah, so yeah, that's everything about video games. Congratulations. You sat through almost 15 minutes of me mostly going on tangents and not really giving you a lot of useful info. But yeah, so it's just ta-da, video games. And again, as always, next episode is probably going to be more interests. Eventually I might tackle some questions or tell you something a bit more personal than just video games and whatnot. But yeah, that's it.